Building in a Small Town, where we're talking to entrepreneurs, community leaders, policymakers, and more to find out how they're building things in small towns. I'm your host, Shelby Smith.
Today I am remote. I am in Jefferson, Iowa, just south of Jefferson, Iowa. Technically, we're not within city limits, I don't believe. But I have the two guys, Bill and James of Iowa Cover Crop. So thank you guys for sitting down to chat with me this afternoon.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Thank you.
Yeah. So let's start with you guys. First of all, I don't care who wants to go first, Bill or James, on this one. Did you both grow up here in Jefferson?
Yeah, we're classmates, class of 04 out of Jefferson, and we were in the same forage club, Green Go-Getters.
Was it the Go-Getters? I thought it was just 4-H club.
I thought we were the Green Go-Getters.
I think you need to look that up.
Do
Fact check.
either of you have a T-shirt?
No.
Dang.
No.
I'm pretty sure.
But you should ask Bill if he can do the 4-H pledge.
Oh.
Can you?
I can't.
I don't know if I can do the first. I pledge my head to clear thinking, my heart to greater loyalty, my hands to larger service for my club. I forgot an H. Health. My health to better
Head,
living.
hands, health,
Heart. My club, my community, my country, my world.
Oh, you got it. You nailed it.
How does it start? What's the first one?
Head, hands,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
heart, health. Yeah, you got it.
Dang. Bill and James put you on the spot a lot.
Sometimes.
I can kind of tell. And also, class of 04, you guys have a big reunion coming up.
Yeah, the big 2-0. Yep. So, should be fun.
Be a Bell Tower Festival.
All at the same time?
All at the same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, all the classes kind of meet there, which is pretty cool. So you see, like, you've got your 40-year people and your 50 years and your 5 years. It's kind of fun to just all get together.
Yeah, so then you guys are the 20 years this year. Okay, so you grew up here, classmates, were you friends in school?
We had an arranged friendship.
At least like when we were younger.
Who arranged it? I feel
Our
like
parents, all of our parents.
Yeah.
So, and then middle school, high school, we didn't really hang out too much. We went to college, came back, and it's few and far between for people our age there.
So it's arranged friendship again.
Yeah, kind of, like
Forced.
Society arranged their friendship, and it's worked out well. I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so you both went to college.
Yep.
Where'd you go?
I went to South Dakota State, in Brookings, South Dakota.
Why?
Why? Well, I didn't make it into Iowa State because I wasn't smart enough. So it was either community college or I made it in South Dakota State because it had kind of lower admission standards. And
Go Jackrabbits, right?
Go Jackrabbits, but I thrived and graduated with over a 2.5, which is very good.
That is real good.
Yeah, that is striving.
Above average.
And
Yeah.
what did you study?
I studied agriculture, ag studies.
Okay. Very broad.
Yeah, because I didn't have to take chemistry and all the stuff that I probably wouldn't be able to pass. So my real major was just learning about people and talking, which usually involved a beverage at Main Street for the most part. Yeah.
Fair.
So I met people. I learned how to do sales in college, and yeah, that's what my college experience was.
And so did you come back right after college?
I came back after college, and then I got a job locally here at an ethanol plant, and I traded feed grains and both domestically and internationally, and then I left that after probably 5 or 6 years and went on the farm.
Gotcha.
We're both farmers.
Okay, and that was what I was gonna say.
Yep.
Both grew up on a farm.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So very traditional row crop, or row crop and I mean, if you were 4-H, were you like both showing?
We both had cattle.
Yeah, we both have cattle, and still do.
Who won in the show?
Oh, Bill probably did.
I don't.
I mean, your cattle are better than mine, so.
So the only place we would come head to head was the Penna 3 competition. And the Pennant 3 is cool because it's not just how good are your animals. You know, you don't just go out and buy the fanciest animals. You also you get graded on an interview process.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Yep.
So I don't know.
Yeah, so our segments of the livestock business are a little different. Bill has a cow-calf herd and I have a feed yard. So Bill would take his home-raised cattle, which were better than the stuff that we buy, because we mostly just kind of buy garbage cattle out of the southeast. And then, but yeah, we did the interview thing. I don't know who won our senior year. I have no idea.
I don't know either. I feel like we both always did pretty well because we were actually doing the chores and,
Yep.
you know, like our parents weren't going to do it for us, you know, so we were involved all the
Yeah.
time.
So you actually had something to talk about.
Although I was cleaning the basement out this morning because my wife's been after me to clean out the basement, and I did find an award for forage. Second place, 2003 tug of war,
Oh, wow.
which is it was a
That
medal.
was a big deal.
It is gone now. It is in the Boone County
Boone County
dump or
Oh,
Dallas County dump, whichever one.
that's too bad.
Dang it.
Yeah, but I did win that, or I got second.
You have some bare walls in here. You could.
Yeah, I suppose we could put it up.
Or historical society would probably take it.
Yeah.
Probably want it. Okay, so very good. So you, South Dakota State, going on and do a little grain trading and all that stuff. What about you? Where did you end up? Did you have good enough grades to get into Iowa State? Or?
Maybe? I don't know. I joined the Army in high school and then did the reserve thing. So I took a year to do training and stuff. And then I went to Northwestern in Orange City.
Okay.
Studied ag business, sort of. Kind of similar to James. I mostly went there to figure people out.
Yeah. And so when you did where did you go for basic for your Army Reserve?
Fort Leonard Wood, Southern Missouri.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's like a whole other country.
It was different, yeah.
So you only did that for a year. So then were you, did they pay
I was a
for-
reservist, so then
Yeah.
I was doing weekends.
Did they pay for Northwestern then?
Some of it, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
nice.
And then I wrestled up there too, so that helped. And so
Nice. Did you wrestle in high school then?
I did.
Obviously, what weight class?
I was 103 all through high school.
You were a little one.
Yeah, cutting pretty hard, and then 125 in college.
Okay.
So
Is that the smallest
Yeah.
weight class in college as
Yeah.
well? Did you enjoy the college athlete thing? Is
yes.
Northwestern NAI?
NAI. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I did. It was the coach that recruited me was fantastic, and then after my freshman year, he retired, and we got a new guy, and we kind of butted heads a little bit. But no, I did enjoy it. It was a great way to meet people and get connected, but man, it was a full-time gig.
Yeah.
You know, wrestle in the morning, go to school all day, wrestle at night, and then
Somewhere in there, do homework.
do some
and-
studying. Yeah, it was hard.
Yeah. But looking back, you would have done it again.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah,
Yeah.
my neck doesn't hurt anymore, which is kind of nice. So maybe I would do it again.
Yeah, and I would imagine not cutting weight anymore is.
Yeah, so that was kind of the kind of good thing in college. I was a natural 25-pounder, so I didn't really have to cut, but it also kind of bit me because I was wrestling people way bigger than me. So.
Yeah, right. Can't have it
No.
all. Okay, so you graduate from Northwestern, and do you come back immediately?
I came straight back, yeah.
Okay, and that is to come back to the family farm?
Yep, I was working with
or-
Dad on the farm and
Okay.
just kind of working like an hourly wage for Dad, and then trying to figure out some side hustles, figure out how I can make a little extra
You
money
got
here.
paid?
Well, it was my sole source of income, basically, other than little odd jobs. So I didn't have a real fancy pants job where I had to go to an office or anything. So
Huh.
The life.
Yeah.
yeah.
And so, what was that like? Did both of you always plan on coming back to the family farm, or was that kind of,
I'd say I was planning on going back
yeah,
in one way or the other.
Yeah, I was kind of torn. I think either coming back or if the military was my thing, probably jumping in on that. But
military was not your thing?
it wasn't my thing.
Did you end up getting deployed at all?
No,
That's kind of
yeah,
nice.
it was okay.
Yeah, I just don't think I would want to be deployed to Army. That's, we were talking about before we hopped on, that my brother's an F-16 pilot, and so he was deployed to Afghanistan in 2013, but his deployment was like 6 months.
Yeah.
You know, pilots have.
And they go to a nice place.
Yeah.
It's like a vacation.
Right, I was gonna say, pilots have it a little cushier, shall we say, than Army does. Okay, so you decide no thanks on that. And so reserve, how long do you sign a contract for reserves? Like 2 years?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
But it was enough that you could just not.
I was done, yeah.
And would you say, what, you graduated in 04, would you say you were done by like 09-ish?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, so just after college. That relatively painless experience.
Yeah, it was good. I liked a lot of it. There was a lot of really valuable lessons learned, but it just wasn't going to be for me long term.
Yeah, I don't blame you. And did you end up having to, you know, they talk about specialized training and things like that. Did they send you down a particular job?
I was a 21 Tango, a technical engineer. So I was like the main focus was land surveyor. So I would do land surveying, and then we would also like, what else were we doing? We did a lot of like de-arming landmines.
Oh, I could see why you would not like long term.
No, that was the fun part.
Well, sure.
And then like testing concrete for some reason too, which I could not tell you how to do any of those things right now.
Yeah.
So.
That's fine.
But it was all interesting.
Yeah, interesting time in your life. So did you both meet your significant others in college?
No.
Were they before that?
Mine's after college.
Okay. And did you like drag her kicking and screaming here to Jefferson? Is she local?
No, she's not local. So I met her kind of through work, a friend at work, and
Gotcha.
Megan's from northern Iowa, like a small town about the same size as Jefferson.
What's the name?
Algona.
Yeah, so the husband in the background that you can't see, he's from up that way, he's from Armstrong.
Oh yeah. Anyway, the spouses are having a moment right now.
Yeah, basically from Minnesota.
Yeah. Oofta.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll say it in actual conversation, like weirdos.
Yeah. So I went we met afterwards, and she kind of got a job in Des Moines, and then came to lovely Grand Junction, which is the little town we live in.
So you guys live in Grand Junction. Do you
Yep.
know Spencer Kirk?
Yeah, I do know Spencer Kirk.
There you go. He did a lot of work on our building.
Okay.
So we used, so you know, we were talking about this offline as well. My husband used to teach here at Greene County in Jefferson, and so he used to work for all sorts of people. So he worked with Greg Ruth, and so CNR Construction, and he would have taught and coached Spencer, and Spencer I think had worked with Greg. You know, they take students and teach them contracting things and stuff, and so Spencer came and did a lot of work on our building. Oh.
Good.
Yeah, good times. Grand Junction, what a town.
It's a beauty.
It's the grandest.
It is.
You should buy commercial real estate in Grand Junction.
No, thank you.
Okay.
It's a little bit of a commute for me. I think we're pretty settled. You're not the first person to offer us something in the area, so.
Well, here, not that long ago, since this is about your revitalization, the Greene County had, what was it called? Something 2020. I'm getting a little offside help here. Megan, what was it called? Vision 2020, where they had a vision. This was probably in 2018, where they had a vision of 2020. And one of the visions of 2020 is Grand Junction is going to turn into a artist colony. Yeah. So.
Here we are in 2024, and is there any sign of said artist?
Not yet, but.
But we get the right investment.
The building they were going to do burnt down. They're going to get the colony, so.
Maybe it was a sign.
Maybe, or it's an opportunity for somebody.
Potentially.
Yeah, brand new.
Yeah.
Potentially. Anyway, so Bill, what about you? Did you?
Melissa, I met her when she was in like middle school.
Okay.
And I was in
College.
No, she was in 8th grade when I graduated. But
Awkward.
So almost.
Yeah, her brothers and I wrestled together, and they actually worked for us on the farm in the summers, and we were really, really good friends, and she was there,
Yeah.
and couldn't have cared less until she came to college, and then I was like, oh.
Because she was in 8th grade.
You're like a person now, so yeah. So it was nice. It was seamless. I already knew the family.
Yeah.
It was
Great.
perfect.
So there's no awkward family introductions or
Yeah,
anything like that. You
right.
had that all under beautiful. And so she was cool with being in the area. Obviously, she's from here. Is her family still around here?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so that makes it quite easy. Okay, so you guys both go off to college. After your forced friendship, you both move back into the area. When does the forced friendship return? Is that like as soon as you guys get back, or are you like fine?
Probably
staying?
pretty
Yeah, I would
soon.
say pretty soon. We could check the notes or the minutes, but we formed the Pond Owners Association.
Pond owners.
Yeah, so James's family has a pond, and we have a pond, and then another friend has a pond. And so we would just go and we would tour ponds all summer and fish
And float and drink
float.
beer.
Well,
And then have meetings, business meetings.
we would have a meeting. Sometimes we'd have guest speakers.
Mostly, the reason for Pond Owners Association was so we could invite people out and then tell them they can't be in the
Yeah,
association.
we wouldn't let them come.
Because they didn't have a pond. So sorry. I know
It's
you
kind of
want to be part of
elitist.
this club, but
We're kind of elitist.
It's not for
when it
you.
comes to ponds, so.
we took notes.
What does it take to be a member then?
A pond.
Yeah, pond.
Okay.
Pretty much, and I don't know. We should probably vote them in.
Right. What-
Yeah.
How
Not like a koi pond, like a
Well, you
I'd
would-
say an acre
Minimum.
minimum.
I think we're making the bylaws up right now.
We should probably call Destiny.
Yeah. Well, it's 2/3 vote here.
I was gonna say, did membership expand outside of 3? Instead
No.
of pond?
We didn't
Oh.
really have any more friends, so
With ponds.
Right. Right. So you had to work with what you had.
yeah.
So the Pond Owners Association begins and ends, it sounds like.
And it was also kind of the.
It hasn't ended yet.
Yeah, no, nobody
It's
has
still-
put the kibosh on it.
Yeah, we haven't disbanded.
We have kids now, so we don't actually do anything fun, but
But you also now have multiple members of said pond association.
sure.
Do they get to be in just because they are?
I feel like nepotism.
Yeah,
I
for
should
sure. I
allow.
mean, we don't own our ponds, so seems only fair.
True.
Nepotism at work here
Yeah,
in the
for
Pond
sure.
Owners Association of Western Iowa
Yep.
is what I'm hearing. Sounds like there's some corruption going on. But
We almost submitted the minutes a couple times to the local paper, which would have been really
That would have
funny.
been really fun. We missed the vote on that.
Oh, that's fine. Happens. Okay, so you start Iowa Pond Owners Association. I'm gonna call you the Western Iowa Pond
Yeah.
Owners Association.
I think it's the only pond owner association I know, but I can't really fact check that.
WIPA sounds cool though. Western
Yeah,
Iowa.
sure. Yeah, there you go.
Or, yeah, we'll call it WIPA. WIPA is not
Yeah.
quite the same. WIPA. T-shirts, I'm telling you. Needs to be made. So anyway, so you guys get back, you start your Pond Owners Association. When do you start getting into sort of the conservation end of things? I think that's
Yeah.
probably what led you down the trail. You're both back now at this point working on family farms, right? Doing row crop.
Yep.
Am I correct in that
Mhm.
assessment? Okay. I gotta imagine if your families have been doing it for quite a few years, you're still conventional till, or had anybody moved to no-till
We're
or
pretty
strip
well.
till?
At that time, we were mostly no-till, and now we're pretty much all no-till.
Yeah.
And Dad was using cover crops when I got back from college. He was one of the first adopters around here. So
How did that go when you first started doing that? And so the reason I asked that is so we started strip tilling in 2002. And where we were the first, the only. And like when my dad sold the field cultivator and got rid of all the equipment and all that stuff. I mean, farmers talk. It's the way it is. And we're very used to getting that. We've always kind of been the weird ones, as naturally I've continued being cricket lady. But so how was that received locally? Of like, what is he doing planting grass on his fields?
I I mean, I don't think we ever like got scoffed at, but nobody was gonna chase us
It's not your face.
for yeah, exactly. How would I know? Yeah,
Just Frederick things, they'd probably say.
yeah, no, we're kind of the same way. We're not afraid to go outside the box a little bit. So, yeah, I don't ever remember hearing any like negative, but like as you talk to people, they'd be like, well, that's not gonna work. So
Yeah.
There was a lot of pushback, but they didn't care that I was doing it.
Sure. So you guys started that early. So you guys had already implemented it. Then what about you? Like,
Yeah, we were for the most part conventional till, and we switched to strip till in probably like early 2000s, probably 05, 06, 08, somewhere in there. And we were using cover crops mostly as a forage crop for cattle, not really for a benefit for soil, but for added forage in between, like chopping silage or whatever. We chop rye and do that. So we were using cover crops for like a different reason. Probably it's kind of like a secondary crop.
And do you have? I mentioned you do. Do you have like an estimate of how much that would cut down on additional feeding costs for your? I'm sure you do.
Yeah. Well, it's different every year. Bill's done studies on his cow-calf herd where that was probably 5-10 years ago.
Yeah, we would take like growth at the November 1 or whatever it was, and then we would dry it down and weigh it out and figure out how many tons of hay it would displace, per acre or whatever it was. So
if you have cows in Iowa, if you're grazing any corn stalks, any fodder, cover crops would really pay. I mean, it's like like one of the easiest decisions to do if we could just get people to do it consistently.
Right. Okay, so you guys get into this. You guys are already kind of into the cover crop and then the non-traditional, shall we say, at the time in the early 2000s.
Yep.
You guys are both back. We'll call it 2008, 2009-ish. You're back in the area. When do you start looking at it like this is maybe something that we could?
the Pond Owners Association.
Yeah, so probably there. So
Really?
I left my corporate gig, and then every seed corn dealer wanted me to be a dealer. Every seed corn company wanted me to be a dealer, and I'm like, I don't want to sell seed. Like, that sounds horrible. But I still needed some, like, farming can get sometimes, and Bill and I differ in this, but sometimes farming for me can get boring and like not as intellectually like stimulating as sales.
Tell me more on that one. Why?
Because it is slower paced. You sell a crop once every 12 months. It's not very transactional.
Your input, you know where you're getting your inputs.
You know where you're getting your
you're
input.
selling it.
You have 12 months to sell this product. There's no real thing in the middle of those 12-month periods.
You don't have to develop the market. The market's there.
Yep. And now, like, even like selling grain, you're only going to sell to one or two places because they're going to be the most competitive ones. Mm-hmm. So it can be monotonous and boring. So I want to do something different. And so a friend of mine from college said, hey, why don't you sell cover crops? It's different. No one's doing it. I said, what the hell? There's no, to become a cover crop dealer, it's not like you have to sign any paper. You just start kind of doing it. So I was selling a little cover crops, sold some to Bill and his family. Bill was raising things, I was buying things from Bill. And so then we just decided to make a go of it, and we formed an LLC to sell cover crops because we were both doing it individually at the time.
But we were at a Pond Owners Association meeting, and James and I think nothing alike, right? Like, we just look at the exact same thing and we'll come up with two exact different answers. And
can you give me an example?
Oh, I don't want to start fighting right now.
better
Basically, I mean, literally anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we would start talking about cover crops, and we would both agree that they were interesting and that it had a future.
So, I know what they are, but it's very, very realistic that somebody who is listening to this has no freaking idea what we're talking about in terms of what cover crops are. So how would you explain it to somebody who doesn't have any idea of farming or anything like that, starting from ground zero? How would you explain it?
So we plant seeds kind of in the off season of the natural growing season of corn and beans, to put more living roots and put more biomass on top of the ground for a longer season throughout the year. So instead of the ground being bare for 6 months out of the year, now it's got something living, and it kind of is meant to emulate, native prairie and stuff like that, where it's a little more of a healthy system. It's good for forage, it's good for weed suppression, and it's good for reducing like nutrient loss and soil erosion. So it's a good conservation measure, and in theory at least is good for the bottom dollar on farmers as well.
And what's typically planted as the cover crop?
Yep, so mostly cover crops are mostly cereal grains and some legumes or brassicas like radishes or turnips. And like the cereals would be like rye or wheat or oats. So they're very basic crops.
Those are the big three, but then we get into all sorts of weird, turnips and radish and sugar beets and all kinds of things.
And the what determines who's going to use what? Like, where do you use a brassica versus a cereal?
It all depends on what the customer's goals are. So if they want to graze cattle, they might do cereal rye and turnips or cereal rye and rapeseed, something like that. But if they want it to winter kill, they might, and they don't want to touch it ever, they might use oats and radish. They're both. So it just depends what people's goals are.
Yep, and so when you say winter kill, it's things that are not going to overwinter. It's as soon as the frost hits, it's not going to go anywhere. Yep. And then the intention, you said it earlier, it's a second crop, so to speak, but is the intention when you plant it to eventually harvest it?
No, virtually never. I mean, sometimes you'll hay it or, grazing it, you can count as harvesting, but for the most part, it just gets killed and then your cash crop gets planted into it.
Gotcha. Thank you for breaking that down. Like I said, there's some people who are not even in farming and will have no idea.
When we go to do talks with people, it's so hard to come up with what you're gonna say, because there's people there that know absolutely nothing, and then there's people that know way more than you do, and there's no middle ground, it seems like.
Yeah, and they can all be within the same crowd sort of a situation. Okay, so you guys are at this pond owners association meeting. You start talking about, cover crop, and that you're both utilizing it. One of you selling it at that point, the other's consuming, and you're both consuming, and you think that there's this future. Form the LLC, you do all of the things. Where at this point though, you're selling cover crops to people like Bill. Where are you sourcing your seed from and all that? Is there National Cover Crop Association that is providing?
So we're sourcing from a series of wholesalers essentially, and so then we just started finding our own growers and then having people grow for us. So probably in year 2 or 3, we started having people grow for us, and then it's the natural cycle of once you have someone growing for us, then you say, well, we can process this. So then Bill bought a bunch of seed cleaners on Facebook or somewhere. So we bought a bunch of these old 1950 seed cleaners, ran them for a year until they were way too tiny and not exactly for us. So we did that. Then there was just the natural progression. You're just well, I need more, I need something bigger, I need something different, I need different packaging, blah, blah, blah. So we just kind of naturally, over a few years, went from buying from a wholesaler to building our own supply chain, essentially.
And so talk to me a little bit about that, about building your own supply chain. Are they growing here in Iowa? Are you going up to more the Dakota sort of a situation? How does that all work? And then is it sort of a custom farming situation? Or was the seed cleaner the only thing that you guys really needed to buy and the rest of it was on that?
Well, yeah, Dad and I had been growing our own seed for quite a while. I mean, when I got back, he was growing his own. So
Basically, you were trying to cut James out of it as much as
no, we were both kind of just doing our thing in separate circles, and then every once in a while they would cross over. But yeah, we were raising oats and wheat for the most part, and then just consuming most of it on our own farm. Like we weren't raising hardly any, and then just selling to some neighbors and stuff. And then we started getting into the rye a little bit more, which I tried to raise a couple of years and hated it. So we sourced most of our rye out of the Dakotas and Canada and Minnesota. So
now we source our rye mostly out of the north. We have growers that grow for us, no different than a contract with the co-op taking corn. We just contract for them for rye. And then we have growers in Iowa that grow oats for us, and then we have growers in Iowa that raise wheat, and we have growers that raise buckwheat in Iowa. And what else we got?
yeah,
If there's any growers in Iowa, Triticale, we're looking for you.
We've not found you yet.
Yeah, but maybe this is what you're watching.
But when we first started out, we were doing small enough volume that it was like we couldn't justify cleaning it ourselves really. So it was all the rye we were buying cleaned already and bringing it down, and then selling it that way. And then we realized, we could be way more efficient if we were cleaning ourselves and buying straight from a farmer, and cut out 2 or 3 middlemen that
Right.
way.
Cut the middleman. So then at that point, I have to imagine your previous grain trading situation kind of helped with developing the contracts and
Yep.
knowing how to deal with that side of things.
Yep.
I would say that's probably where you came in. And was that a couple years in-ish, or?
Probably a year or two. Yeah, we figured out how to do supply chains pretty, like logistics, we're pretty good at that. And so we started essentially, a lot of the cover crops get harvested in end of July, and then they need to be placed 1st of September. So you only have 30 days to process them and
Your
get them.
August sucks.
Oh, it's terrible.
Oh yeah, it's busy, and
18 hours a day, 7 days a week.
and so you got to get all the stuff out the door in a couple, a month period down here. So yeah, it takes a lot of from my grain merchandising background, I could deploy 20, 30 trucks at it, right? So
Yeah.
that's
So
what we did.
Then that first year, how many contractors did you bring on in that first year? Do you remember?
Oh
Was it just
gosh,
like-
our first year we probably sold a load or two of
Mhm.
like nothing.
Yeah, and it was.
We were happy.
Yeah,
Well,
it was
it's
fun.
it's a learning year.
Yeah,
And I think,
absolutely.
and it was a side gig.
So it
And-
was a side gig at this point. You guys are still both
Yeah,
farm, like that's the full time
Yep,
thing.
yep,
is
for
the
sure.
farming side.
Yep.
Okay, so you're kind of dipping your toes still.
We were hoping to make enough money to, maybe have a nice weekend in down Des Moines.
I was gonna
yeah, it was
say,
probably that level.
Like if we can make like $1,000 total, and we split it up, we're pretty happy.
Yeah,
yeah.
and then I do remember. Yeah, it just kind of the first probably 5 years for sure. It would double every year, and
What was that like?
we were always kind of what's the saying? The cat chasing the tail.
Oh yeah.
Like we were always like one step behind, right?
Yeah.
And then we would get comfortable with it, and then it would double again, and it was like, well, shit.
Yes.
Yeah, we always tell a story that there's this one year where, we apply the cover, we do a lot of application cover crops, like with airplanes. We don't own the airplanes, we sub that out, but
Ooh, so tell me more. Tell me a little bit about that though. Like,
So our pilot is an F-16 pilot.
Sweet.
Stotts out of Jefferson.
I will tell my brother that,
oh, they all know each
Tell
other.
him Thermo says hi.
He won't. His call sign is Gator. I don't know. He's in Japan.
Yeah.
He's busy.
He was a couple years ahead of us in school, and came back to help his dad with the spray business. Timing was really good. He was kind of aggressive as well, seeing the cover crop market. start to
Fighter
grow.
pilots aren't aggressive
Yeah,
at all.
yeah.
No, they're not type A personality.
Definitely.
So he was one of the early adopters of getting a seeder
things
well.
but like falling together. But I'm saying like mechanically, tell me how that works. Like, is it kind of like a crop duster situation? Where
Yeah. They just take the spray booms off and they put a spreader on the bottom.
Yep. And then we go and we call it our little circus where we take the airplanes to all these different airports around, and then we have a seed conveyor, and then we have semis, and then we shag, load
they have
the
a timber
planes.
truck that has an auger that sticks out the nose,
Yeah.
so they can just pull straight up to the wing of the airplane. Load it.
So we'll do that. That's mostly Bill's job now.
Well, and how long? I don't know what you would. How long does it take to do a 40-acre field?
Not long.
They're going 140 mile an hour, like
Right.
70 feet at a time. So we've
Like
done
20 minutes.
We can do with 2 airplanes. We can do 2,000 acres a day, pretty easy, and be home for supper.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's
that's
So what we were doing is, so the life cycle of this is the seed gets harvested in July, has to be cleaned, has to be tested, has to go to us, has to go to the airport and get flown on in 30 days. And so what we were doing is we was so tight that Bill was cleaning it at the time that he would like clean between like,
I would like start cleaning at midnight.
start cleaning at midnight, but then the seed would have to be at the airport by 7. So
to load it on.
to load it on,
So I was
and then
loading
rinse
trucks
and repeat.
and then going.
Dang.
It was
we
fun.
didn't have
That was
facilities.
a hoot.
Like you said, cat chasing its tail. Or
Yeah.
whatever that saying is.
But so we like, you know, when you think about starting a business, it's scary because you're like, what if it fails? You know, like, it's probably going to fail.
Yeah.
And we've been very fortunate that we haven't had that problem, but it creates a whole new series of problems.
Yeah, so then it's like, all right, is this the conversation we always used to have? It's like, all right, is this a fad? Is this going to go away? Do we invest in it, or do we like poor boy it and see how far it goes? And then when it's a fad, it's over, then we will wash our hands of it
And
and be done.
what stage did you decide, hey, this is investable?
We never did. It got pushed on us.
Yeah, so
We're both very cheap.
Yeah, you're farmers.
And we had a business that we could do with 2 cell phones essentially when we started.
and all the equipment we needed, other than those little seed cleaners, was all equipment we had on the farm anyway that we were using it off season.
Yeah. So your capital investment was
Nothing.
essentially.
Yeah.
And
Had to buy diesel on Al's truck.
Yeah.
dang it.
Yeah,
Dang it, Al.
I know.
Yeah, just be a good guy.
But probably so this one Bill talked, and I talk about a lot, probably how our parents helped us the most is they let us do it. And they let us like, just do your thing. We think it's gonna fail,
Yeah.
but
But we love you.
Yeah.
but you know, whatever.
And they gave us the space and the time to try it and time off from doing what we should have been doing to do it. And yeah, for the first 5 years, there was no like, this is a fad, it's not going to work. And now it's like, oh yeah, that worked.
And so like you know, you're going through those 5 years and you're like, yeah, we're just kind of going and it's going to be what it's going to be. So then you hit that 5-year mark, like what was it? Or can you...
So we were in like this big bind. Bill and I we sold a bunch of stuff, processed, kind of like a wholesale seed. And we figured out that we couldn't do it. And we were in this huge bind and we were a little desperate. And so then we called this guy who has a seed cleaner north of here because we knew he probably wasn't doing a whole lot. And we called him and we're like, hey Jim, we need to get this processed. And we went up and looked at it and he's like, well, how soon can you have seed there? And it was about 10 o'clock in the morning. And we had trucks, like he didn't know it, but we already made the decision before we even looked at it. We had trucks headed that way anyway. They were coming at 1, whether he liked it or not. And so then we started having like a guy that was like set up for actually doing what we were doing because we were not set up. So I remember we sold a bunch of seed into Oklahoma and We were trying to bag it, and it was a complete disaster. And like the frustration was probably as like high as it ever was. And they're like this isn't gonna work. And we got trucks sitting around waiting for product. And Bill's like, I gotta check my cows. And I was like, all right, I'm just sitting down here by myself trying to make this work. And we got this truck loaded, and Bill brought me A&W, and he said, we need to do something here because we are in a bind. And so then we got into a seed clean, like an actual seed clean plant, because we were doing it out of a corn crib.
Right.
We were trying to do too much with too little.
Yeah, trying to limp along and shoestring it, and not really go all in, but also
like we want to make sales like we're going all in,
We
but we
didn't want to put any money in.
didn't want to put any money up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then we got in the seed clean plant, and we were leasing it, and we leased that for 2 or 3 years, and that worked really well.
Well, and that keeps your capital investment down.
Yeah.
Still, you
Yep.
know, it's one of those things.
Yeah, it was a cheap option.
It was cheap, and we learned a lot because we had no idea what we were doing.
You
And
learned it on somebody else's equipment too. That's
Sure.
yes,
And it also allowed us, so when we moved into there, we now had the ability to make small bags and to make totes, which is something that like co-ops like. And so now we're not just selling to farmers, we're selling to big retailers.
retail, yeah. And then we had someone that had been in the business of cleaning things, and so like we got a lot of knowledge from the person we were renting from because he just been doing it forever, his whole life. So we learned a lot through him.
Mhm.
But then we had a tornado.
Well, okay, so prior to that though, 2020, derecho, were you guys relatively unscathed by the derecho? Seems like out here, maybe this didn't get
So
quite
our
bad.
farms were hit pretty hard,
Mhm.
Yeah.
but our business was far enough north. It was fine.
So you got lucky on that one.
Business was good. Yeah, the
And-
farms were rough.
Business was actually really brisk because we had a lot of people's crop was zeroed out, and so and it was August, derecho August 10th or some dang thing,
Yeah.
and so it's like perfect time to put in cereals. So like business got like orders all of a sudden a week after got really big, and we were set up for it at that time, so we didn't get hit, so that was good.
So that's lucky.
Yep.
So then you fast forward 14 months. And do you want to talk about the weather that day? Do you want to talk about when it was?
I don't really
That's
remember.
the
Yeah, it was
weird-
December
It
what?
was like December.
2022.
Yeah, but it was like December 7th or something. Like it was not.
Yeah.
It was beginning of December.
It was like 80 degrees. Everybody's out in their t-shirts.
80 degrees and humid.
Crazy.
It was
The
wild.
weirdest thing ever. Yeah, and so everybody'd been working outside and just like, oh, this is weird. But they hadn't forecasted it. Like they
Yes.
knew that line of storms was coming.
Yes.
And it came exactly like they said it was going to, and it just annihilated everything. How many, was there like 6 confirmed tornadoes in Greene County?
Yeah.
Um,
I think Greene County was the worst of it, if I remember
Yeah.
right. I think you guys just got lucky.
Yeah, go big or go home. So our house was like, I was in the basement and like,
Everyone was in the basement.
had steel like slamming up against the side of my house, and I was like, oh, this is not good.
After the derecho, no one was like joking around with it anymore.
No,
Yeah.
and that I think.
Yeah.
That was pretty fresh.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're only a year removed from that, and I think there's a lot of people that now when wind gets forecasted, we're not like, oh, it's just
Yeah,
wind.
yeah.
We're like, oh,
Yeah, well, it's weird. I mean, my dad is 72, and he's seen 3 derechos in his life, and my daughter is 5, and she's seen 2. So
Wow.
it's just like, yeah, it's a weird animal, but yeah. So we were just all like hunkering down, hiding from this tornado, and you go outside, and I remember going outside. I was trying to figure out what was still here, and it was just like ashy, and it smelled like forest fire. I was like, what is going on? I found out it was the grass fires from Kansas that had blown ash all the way from there, which is pretty wild. But then we were trying to figure out what happened at the seed plant, which luckily we were pretty low on inventory. Like December, we're pretty quiet. So we were pretty low on inventory, but we had a couple grain bins full of stuff that we were getting ready to clean, and some bags and stuff like that. And it was all, there was 2 big storage buildings and then a cleaning shed and 5 or 6 bins, and it picked up 1 storage building and put it through the rest of everything else. So
So
it was
out
all
of,
gone.
out of commission at
Yeah,
that point.
everything was gone.
Everything was gone.
So then you see that.
You think, oh shit.
Hope they have insurance.
Yeah, I hope they have insurance, but like for us, it doesn't matter too. Our seed was covered, but
And we weren't in sales season.
we didn't have any money invested into the building, so we didn't have any insurance on it.
Right, but you also didn't have an alternative of facilities to use.
Yeah.
And so you're in your off season and all of that. And also
It's a good thing it happened when it did.
Yeah,
Because it gave us a lot of time.
if it would have happened in August, it would have been not a good deal.
right.
But-
So we got the 2x4s out of the tote bags that they went through and kind of salvaged what we could. It didn't rain, which was
No.
nice.
But the beautiful thing is that the next day, it was 80 degrees, the day before it's 35.
Yeah.
Because you're cleaning up
Yeah.
and assessing damage.
The funny thing about it is I remember our employee at the time, Phil, we had this big leg and I was like, it's such a nice day, you better go up and grease that leg. And so we went all the way up, which was a chore. So we went up and greased the leg. And the next morning I go there and Phil's like, here, come over here. See, the leg's laying on the ground now.
Yeah.
He's like, I greased it.
Would have been
Yeah,
way easier.
yeah, it would have been way easier down here. So we kind of it took us about a month of just kind of cleaning stuff up because we were also cleaning our own farms up too.
Yeah.
And we cleaned up what we could, and then then we had, it was like we said, sugar off the pot time.
That was the thing that made us want to invest in the business. Was we have to now if we really believe in it, and we did. So
Yeah. So then, where do you start with that path? Are you looking at do we, put up our own building? Do we try and find somewhere else to lease? Where does that go?
So-
there was nothing to rent.
And we're right in the middle of the supply chain disruption and expensive prices.
And
Oh yeah, 21.
Yeah,
That was
22.
Construction. Yeah, 21, 22.
It was-
Construction supplies were pretty cheap back then.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, dirt cheap.
great thing to build.
It's fine.
Interest was cheaper, which was the only good thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, unlike a normal startup, we had customer base, right? And we had
You definitely had proof of concept at that point.
we had proof of concept. We had a customer base.
You were profitable.
We were profitable.
And we knew we were gonna have demand. We just had to figure out how to fill it.
Yeah, we had. I think the inventory we had like a, tornado, our loss, your gain. Come get discounted.
Yeah.
Come get discounted product because we have nowhere to go with it.
Right.
So we wholesaled a bunch of that out.
We called everybody in the county for do you have a building that we can rent?
Just dry space, essentially.
Anything.
Trying- Yeah.
No, nobody has anything. And then one of the co-ops had a old fertilizer shed that
The
was
ones that shed.
rough enough that they weren't going to use it.
Yeah.
And they're like, you can park here if you want.
Yeah.
So we did, and while we're doing
The
that,
password is corn on the.
hey, that might still be.
No, the shed's
I
gone.
want to scratch that.
It's gone. It's demolished. It's so good that they said you got to get your stuff out by this day before I demolish it. So we used it for a year.
Yeah, no electricity.
Yeah, we did
No water.
brisk business with
No
no
internet.
power, no electricity, no internet.
Yeah, and the business grew.
Almost doubled that year
And so,
while we were building this one.
so yeah, while we're doing that, we're also okay, we're not gonna find a building. Let's see if we can find a lot and just get after it. And we were lucky. This is an old co-op location, and the guy was tired of mowing it that owned it, and so he parceled it off for us. And we found a builder and a building insanely fast for the time when everybody was in demand. And
Because the tornado came through here and everyone's sheds got demolished
Everybody
too.
was
So it's
rebuilding.
not like there was a ton of contractors.
yeah,
Right. You were competing with freaking everybody.
yeah.
But I guess the beautiful thing is you weren't waiting on insurance to pay you out, whereas
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the nice thing. It was a cash deal.
Yeah. Well, but you know what I'm saying though, from a getting the contractor perspective.
Yeah, we didn't have to wait for anybody
Yes.
any permissions.
Yes.
It was just go.
And so I think that you laugh, but that 1,000% could be
Yeah.
the reason that you ended up getting someone versus not.
Right.
So,
Because December we had seed in this building in August. So 8 months, and it's a big building, it was a project. So we booked it. That was all we did that year.
Yeah, so
was
we were building, I think we started building this about the 4th of July, and that's also like right in the top of our busiest season. So like we were doing both and there's probably some things that we overlooked because we were just trying to like
just get it done
and do business at the same time. So, but yeah, we built this building.
Yeah, now we have a real house.
I was gonna say, and so now in this space, like, what do you have? Like, what are your capabilities? What do you have underneath this roof?
So then, not only with the building in 2023, so 2022, Bill's wife Melissa was working mostly full time on the business, on the back end, doing the books and.
Which she was an accountant, right?
No, that's James's wife.
Okay.
So.
No, one of you was an accountant.
And so then in
Cheating.
2023, no, 2020. When did you start here?
This is 24.
2021.
You started here in 21.
Yeah.
Well, I guess in 2021 she was full time too. Melissa must have been full time way before that, like 18.
No idea.
I don't know.
We don't keep good records. Take it up with the count.
At that point we weren't even like paying anybody really.
Yeah. We have two.
So now we have
horribly overqualified and underpaid people on staff.
So now we have 4. we have 5 employees, 4 of which are owners, and the girls really do 90% of the work.
That does not surprise me one bit.
No,
James and I lift stuff up and drive forklifts.
we don't even do that.
I mean, that's the only reason we keep you around.
Vac grain bins out.
Vac grain bins out. That seems like that's our
I would
special.
learn QuickBooks if I didn't have a grain vac anymore.
Yeah. Oh gosh. So we have the girls and they're here all the time, kicking butt, taking names. So we have a warehouse employee, Trevor.
Yeah, so we have a real house with electricity and the internet.
Yeah, it's fancy.
And so like our efficiency is,
Skyrocketing.
this was our first year operating in the building and it was quite a bit better. And it's got just a ton of room to grow.
And do you think, from an efficiency standpoint, is it just because you actually have,
Having the space is nice. We have loading docks, so we don't have to, pull pallets onto a truck, which saves you 40 minutes every time you load a truck. And we had, 200 trucks come in here this year, so like, it saves a lot of time.
Yeah, and would you say like operating capacity, are you at 50%? Like of the space that you have, like how soon are we gonna need to add on?
Yeah, we were wall to wall, couldn't drive a forklift in there at least twice last year.
So.
But then it empties out.
Yeah.
Hopefully it empties out.
Yeah.
We've also not just learned, not wholly just like the equipment and the stuff, like the institutional knowledge of running a seed business. Like we understand the processes now.
We're actually refining.
We're refining, yeah, we're refining. We didn't have a process before, now we're refining. Like the process before was collect the physical pieces of paper you write down and bring them to me so I can invoice them. And now everything's electronic, everything we have an order system, blah, blah.
It's impossible for me to steal seed out of my own warehouse.
Yeah.
It's just terrible.
Get on that account department. We
Yeah.
are just running a tight ship around here.
But we have the capability of blending now, and we're currently, we did a lot of blending last year, but we didn't have the best capabilities of bagging the blends. We did it in a very crude elementary way, but now we're gonna have the capabilities of bagging the blends. We put up bulk storage here because Bill and I would do a pile of grain vacuuming of our own bins, which got very old. So we invested in that this year.
And so, a little back to that process thing, whose decision was it that, hey, we need something other than these freaking pieces of paper? Was that?
Well, we all knew
we
that.
knew it was a problem.
Yeah.
But when you don't have electricity,
True. You gotta,
pens still work.
And I was saying a notebook and whatever you got, it's whatever you got.
Yeah.
So,
We try to have weekly meetings where we identify problems and try and figure out how to fix them.
And everyone kind of has their own thing that they're the expert in, per se, that is their, you know, Melissa does all the AR and seed testing, and Megan does marketing and AP, and
We don't do much.
Bill, Bill, yeah, Bill, I don't know what he does.
I'm here.
Yeah, he does things, does sales like us.
Pretty handy with a coffee pot.
Yeah.
Somebody has to be. Somebody's got to know how to operate it. Okay, but then, so talk to me about how were you guys initially getting business? You know, 5, 6, 7, however many years ago. Like, was it mainly a word of mouth sort of situation, or like how did that customer base start to build for you guys?
There's a lot of beating the pavement, and we were hooked in with a lot of really good cooperators. So we worked with Practical Farmers of Iowa quite a bit, and they were really good at promoting us. Who else was really good at promoting us?
We had just a hand, so we were like our original advertising, we're like the only person in Iowa advertising for cover crop seed. We also, Bill and I started this business called Iowa Cover Crop, and we did not realize the SEO advantages of that. News to us.
Sometimes
But
they're
if you
lucky than good.
if you Google that, if you Google cover crops Iowa, we happen to go to the top of the list.
I knew that.
Yeah.
So that's nice. So that helped Google.
And now, like in the last 5 years or so, we've been seeking out dealers because James and I's arms are out about as far as they can get. So we just kind of hunt down young farmers for the most part and say, you know, replicate what we started doing. And so they're getting their neighbors after it. So we've got 15 dealers or so now, and they're just replicating what we were doing.
In Iowa.
For the most part.
Nebraska, Minnesota.
And so otherwise your customer base is how wide reaching? I know you said you have some stuff that goes down to Oklahoma.
Yeah, Missouri, yeah. Anywhere, we'll send it anywhere.
Yeah.
Send some stuff to the East Coast.
Yeah. So then talk to me a little bit about the decision to bring on dealers. When did that, like, how did that start? Did somebody approach you? Because like that tends to be sort of how these things work.
So specialty seed, which is what we sell now, like we don't just sell cover crops, we sell CRP, we sell alfalfa, like anything other than corn and soybeans we basically sell. And it's not like there's a ton of specialty seed companies out there, but everyone needs a little bit of specialty seed. Like every co-op needs to have someone that buys, you know, brome grass or something, whatever that is. And so these dealers have recognized that they need to have cover crops in their lineups, and they need to have like this as an option. And so then they found us and they say, hey, we want to like offer cover crops to our customer base too, because most of these people are selling corn and soybeans. And so Bill can tell about the neat thing, like these conversations we've had for 5 or 6 years now, that what they turn into, what they start and what they turn into. Go ahead, Bill.
This is a really on the spot situation.
No,
so
you know exactly what I'm looking for.
Yeah. It's mostly like they're looking for a touch point to sell more corn and beans. And because the chain of command here is so short, they make way more money than they can do with corn and beans selling cover crops.
They think we're crazy when we tell them, like, oh, you'll make more money selling this than you will corn and beans. I don't know, wait, no way. And it's like, oh, we'll just give it a couple years.
Yeah, but I mean, it's one of those things that it's specialty enough that you guys are making it easy for them. Essentially, they don't have to go out and source a relatively small amount relative to their corn and soybeans. You know that they're supplying. They have multiple options on that. You know, that's an easy one to find. But you're streamlining that position, and then you guys are so lean. You cut out enough middlemen, shall we say? That, yeah, that's where the margin is. That's how it works.
Yeah, and the first thing that made our cover crop really take a big jump was starting to do the application. Because people are interested in doing these things, but they don't know how to do it, or they don't have the right equipment. And so if you can be that person that just says, just write a check and we'll take care of everything for you. People are more.
Are you telling me the money's in the processing?
Money's in the processing. But for us, it's the convenience, right? Like,
Yeah.
if it's super simple and you don't really have to do anything. So, like, all these guys that are working with us now, they all have equipment and they need to put more acres over it to justify buying it. And so, it's just a natural fit.
And the beauty, like with the end user customer, farmer per se, is we can help them steer them towards cost share opportunities. A lot of times, which I'd say more than a lot of times, that we're putting cover crop on for them, they're actually netting more money than the cost is in most situations. And so, like, instead of being a cost share, it's like a profit center for them.
Right, and so tell me a little bit about some of those cost share programs, because some of those are federal, some of those are state, some of those are like Practical Farmers of Iowa sort of situation. So what do those look like? Like, what are the purpose of those, etc.?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it all started out in like the USDA office, and farmers could come in, and it was just kind of to incentivize people to try something new. And with the nutrient reduction strategy and all these, initiatives that are like really driving at lowering greenhouse emissions and things of that nature, those programs are here to stay. But now also we're working with a lot of private companies that are looking to make their products more green. And so they want to help cost share farmers to make.
There is a ton of cost shares. I mean, too many to list. And there is federal, states, watersheds, which are a combination of federal or state, and then privates. And privates, we think, is going to have huge opportunities. Private cost shares.
And so with those programs, then, are you guys doing all the paperwork, or are you essentially giving the customer, here's the stuff you need to fill out? Like, are you?
They have to do the applications and everything. Like, we can't do that for them.
Unless we have a power of attorney.
But I'm saying you can hold their hand through the process.
Oh, absolutely.
100%, yeah.
Like, you figured it out enough times that.
So what happens is they all have an NRCS office that they're supposed to paperwork to. And so if they are getting application through us or through one of our dealers, that those NRCS or state watershed coordinators have enough confidence in, they have a lot of confidence of our dealers and of us. So like, we'll send them, here's our seed tag, because they know that we're selling the seed that makes germination requirements. And here's the seeding rate we did, because we know what the seeding rates are to get these cost shares. So like, they know it's done right. And so it really makes it easier for those government employees to, make the payments happen, make the magic happen.
Yeah. And so then from the marketing end of that, as you see the opportunity with the privates come in, what's your strategy there? Are you just calling them up saying, hey, I see you got this regenerative ag, goal that you just came out with on this headline. Here's how we can help you. Or is it more like XYZ farmer supplies PepsiCo, and you say, hey, I know you supply PepsiCo. Like,
it's usually probably top down, I guess. Like, we work with Unilever quite a bit, and they have a program that they facilitate, or PFI facilitates it for them. And so we get along with Practical Farmers really well, and so we try to feed that program because it's good for us too, and that feeds Unilever's goals.
Because anytime our customer can get paid on a product that we're selling them, it's a positive thing, because they're gonna, buy it again. The privates are just kind of starting, so we don't know exactly what we're doing there.
Yeah.
But if there's a private listening, we can get you a bunch of acres for a lot of money. Talking to you. As we just Jerry Maguire, show me the money. That's all you gotta do.
And so, okay, as you guys think about growth and as you've grown over, do you think about total seeds sold, or do you think about total acres planted? Like, what's that?
Probably
like?
acres planted.
Okay, and where are we up to these days, if you don't mind me asking?
700,000, something like that. Is that right?
Maybe not that much. I don't know.
I think it's pretty close to 700,000 in Iowa, but I'm not sure.
Are you gonna have a party when you hit $1 million?
Yes. Yeah.
Sure.
Let's do it.
Iowa Pubs.
Oh,
So you'll get a kick out of this. So we have our building in a separate entity than our business, which is pretty common, I think. So we couldn't figure out a name for our building. So you are actually sitting in POA Properties building,
Naturally.
which, Pond Owners Association, which also stands for something else, but we didn't think about that. The LLC papers were already done. I can't swear on this podcast.
No, you can't. I can think of a couple things that POA would stand for. So then, okay, you got 700,000 acres planted. Majority of that done via airplane?
Yeah, I would say probably 3/4 of our acres that we personally do are through the airplane, maybe a little more.
And our dealers is probably less than that. It's probably half.
Yeah.
We're really efficient through the airplane. We're really good at that. Our dealers, because the topography of their land might be drills or air seeders or something else.
And where do you guys, outside of the privates, I'm talking like geographically, regionally, where do you guys forecast the most growth on this at the moment?
Iowa.
Yeah.
We're here.
Iowa for us. Yeah.
I mean, we're a tiny seed company, so we don't have a national brand.
Yeah.
What a crappy name for a national brand. Iowa cover crop.
Why don't this isn't gonna air for a while, so you're gonna have time.
Nah.
Like national cover crop.
I think it would be more like you franchise it out and you have Missouri cover crop and stuff like that. But
we don't want to do that. Having a national-wide seed company is not our goal.
Okay, what is the goal?
We want to empower young people to apply cover crops in their areas, and so we'd rather be helping young people have an opportunity to have a cover crop business in their little region. Instead of having 50 huge distributors that we sell to, we'd rather have 500 people drilling 1,000 acres or something like that.
Yeah.
We're pretty keen on young farmers, and it's a dying breed, and so if we can do anything to
all of our dealers except for one is under 40, and most of them are under 35.
Yeah, one of your dealers used to work for Mr. Dealer Lawn Landscape back there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Peyton. Peyton Johnston.
Sure.
Yeah, just outside of Baxter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's our goal. Our perfect dealer is one that is trying to return to the farm, needs a little extra revenue to do that, has support from their parents to maybe use their dad's drill or a tractor to get started. And so how can we provide that service and seed so then they can make another extra $10,000, $15,000 to stay on the farm instead of having to get a job in town. So we have 15-ish dealers. Theoretically, you could have 2 to 3 dealers that do application per county. You could have 300 dealers pretty easily.
And so as you guys look at growing that network, are you going to keep that in mind? Are you hopefully not going to concentrate 6 dealers in the same county? Unless, there's enough business, but that's...
We run into dealers competing every once in a while, but for the most part, it's a big state. So we try to be kind of cognizant of that and lay out some ground rules for if you guys are engaging one another, how should you handle that? We try to have a dealer meeting every year where we kind of iron some of those kinks out, because James and I are farm kids. We're not from the sales world, so we're building this from scratch and trying to figure it out as we go. So
and we're not, for the most part, our customers are selling their product planted in the ground. So our dealers are selling the product planted in the ground. So that's a big difference than selling it in a bag, because selling in a bag, it's just
You can go
seed.
wherever.
You can go wherever, right? Wherever's cheapest by a penny. But if it's planted in the ground, it has a
Yeah.
set of service with it.
You got about a 15-mile radius if you're drilling. You know, they don't want to go further than that.
Yeah.
So it's a different dealer per se. Yeah.
Mm.
And so, what are you guys most excited about in the
That.
next 12 months?
Yeah.
We get excited about setting up new dealers. Ones that, okay, we have one that is 16. He came to us and he asked, hey, do you have to be 18 to be a dealer? And I was like, I've never even thought about that before. But he's like, I don't have very good credit history. I'm like, well, how can you? You probably just got a checking account a couple years ago. You just had your driver's license. Actually, I think he was 15 when he came up here. And he
rode a bike.
basically,
From Nebraska.
so he's from Eastern Iowa, and he loaned money and bought a little drill, and his dad let him use the tractor, and he drilled 1,000 acres last year.
Which is way bigger than we were.
Which it's, and Bill and I kind of got in a little argument, and I said, I'm going to give this kid some credit. I said, you know, he has no credit references, but how could he? He's only 16. And Bill's like, I think you should get paid first. I was like, you know, I'm going to take a flyer on him. And now he has credit history because he paid his bill. He made so much dang money for a 16-year-old kid. I mean, the options are working minimum wage, and he's drilling cover crops.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's learning how to build people out, and so like that's stuff that gets us really excited. And you know, I get more excited about that one semi-load sale to that dealer than selling 20 to like a big whale that can leave me tomorrow.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot, you know, with this private interest coming in too. It's like, well, yeah, let's see if we can take money from Microsoft and give it to that kid, you know, because that's the better way for money to flow.
Right.
So how can we, like, that's what we talk about, is how can we not only, you know, this is part of your podcast. This is the podcast. How can we support communities at the same time as you know, providing income and a service to us? So we joked about how you want to buy all this commercial real estate in Grand Junction.
Yeah.
And Grand Junction is not a great place to live in. But if you can provide 1 or 2 jobs to someone to stay in Grand Junction and invest in Grand Junction and raise their family in Grand Junction, then not only are you, you know, helping the environment by cover crops, okay, that's awesome. But then, like, how can you help that community by, you know, providing a job, right? Like, that's a big deal. Like, one job in a town of 300 or 400 people is an important job.
Mm-hmm.
So how can you, you know, keep young farmers on the farm, new farmers on the farm, and then like help revitalize small communities? Because our customers aren't in Johnston, West Des Moines, you know. So.
Right. Cool. Well, is there anything else that you guys would like to leave the people with advice?
Oh, we don't have any advice because we don't know what we're doing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's true. I thinking about like the start of the business, we basically like had a rough concept of what we were doing, but we had no idea where we were actually going. But what we did do was say, we're not going to say no to people. So when an opportunity came up, we said yes, and then we figured out how to get it done. And I think that's kind of key to, if you're sticking your neck out in there in something that's not been done before, that's what you have to do.
Build the airplane while you're flying.
Yeah.
Basically my motto. in life.
Yeah. And it makes it fun. Like, I mean, I don't know, we talk a lot about business and have over the last decade, and the process of building the business is exciting. Like, I think everybody thinks of like the end goal of having this business as being the fun part, and it's not. It's building it.
Yeah, we didn't have any business plan or anything. I think they tell you to have this business plan. If you're gonna put that much thought into it, like, I don't know. I'm sure people have business plans and it works.
Well, and it's one thing to put this for
Did you have a business plan?
No, well, so I have 2 degrees in finance. So, like, I had a spreadsheet of projections, but like.
Oh, you were prepared.
No. So I found the article about the woman raising crickets for human consumption on January 1st of 2018. By January 9th, I had ordered 10,000 crickets. So yeah, I had a spreadsheet, but like it was we're just gonna figure this out because like it's the best way to learn, and you know.
If those crickets are scaring you in the face, you're gonna figure out how to sell them.
Exactly.
That's what we say about our inventory. If we got a full warehouse out there, we'll probably sell it.
And you can put whatever you want in that spreadsheet. It's not going to be a reality. Like, and until you are in the trenches and building the business and figuring out what it's like to go through a tornado and have to work with no electricity and everything else. Like, if somebody had told you 12 months before, hey, this is going to happen, you'd have been like, cool, we're just going to go farm.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to be like, well, shit, we're gonna figure this out. But you knew what you had staring you in the face, so you had to make it work. So I think that I totally agree on the maybe have a mild plan and a mild outline of what's gonna happen, but then just go start.
Yeah, you gotta and be willing to embrace what comes, and I mean every opportunity that this business has come across has come out of a problem. So like. When you hit a problem, you can't just throw your hands up and say screw it. Like that's where the actual good comes out of, is that those problems.
And also, who else is gonna fix
Yeah,
it?
yeah. You can't call anybody.
No, it's one of those like, yeah, who are you gonna call to come, figure out how to fill the plane with all the seed that's gonna need to come that needed to be cleaned the night before to be delivered the next morning, kind of deal.
Yeah.
It's just what it is. Awesome. So if people want to get a hold of you to order, to inquire about becoming a dealer, to do any of those things, where should they go?
Search cover crops, Iowa.
And SEO will take you
And we have a website, and go to that.
Find our phone numbers and call us or email us. That's the best way.
Your website is Iowa Cover Crops?
iacovercrop.com. Somebody bought Iowa cover crop about a month before we did.
We have it now.
Originally,
we went many years without it.
Yeah, and then this guy wanted $500 for it, and we're like,
that's like
I can't swear, but I was like, blank you, I'm not going to give you a penny.
Try that again with something more creative.
Okay. Fornicate you. I'm going to find something more. I'm not going to pay you a penny for this.
Yeah.
But then he just gave it up. Instead of taking our $100, which he could have had, he just gave up the domain. Like, we just outlasted him. So we own, so if you go to Iowa Cover Crop, IOWA Cover Crop, it will come to us.
And
Okay, we're checking that right now.
We're on the Facebook and the
X.
The X. Yeah, sorry. And the X. I don't know.
And Instagram.
Instagram.
So yes, you can get Iowa IA or
we have a
Iowa.
YouTube series.
Under the Covers.
Under the Covers.
So go check it out.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sitting down with me and telling me your story of forced friendship to blossoming business opportunity. I have very much appreciated the conversation, and
Cool.
yeah, thanks.
Yep. Thank you.